Hey everybody, this is Mike Nash of Nash Family Bacon, and today I'm going to show you one of the main staples of dinners that we have at the Nash household, and that is our Ragu pasta. As you can see here, we've got our meats with the Italian sausage and ground beef. We've also got our delicious Nash Family sauce bacon. We've got our sauce, we've got our paste, diced tomatoes. We even got our carrots, onions, garlic, and mushrooms. Now, normally I would also like to use San Marzano tomatoes, but, forgot about that. And also, you typically want to start a red sauce with a mirepoix, which also would include celery in this list. Forgot that too. So, we're going to do what most families do, and we're going to make do. So, stick around and watch. So while I'm preparing the vegetables, little quick tip. I like to start with the garlic and onions, things that need to be peeled first before chopping up everything else, because then your cutting board gets wet, and then the stuff that you peel off gets adhered to it, and it's just a pain in the butt. One thing I do recommend, though, is if you don't have something like this for your garlic, I highly recommend getting it. It's like a little silicone cone, and it works great for garlic. Here, let me show you. So here's what I'm talking about. Take the silicone cone, take the piece of garlic, and just roll it along the countertop against the palm of your hand. And presto, most of it's peeled. This one is just a little more busier than the other, so let's go and toss back in there. And bam, get a nice piece of garlic and you don't have to work too hard. By the way, I make no assertion that I'm a professional at this by any means. In fact, I'm probably doing this in an unsafe manner, in which, if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear more about in the comments. But for me, I like to chop the ends of the carrots off. Then I like to kind of cut the carrots into manageable pieces, and I like to split it in half because that makes it easier for cutting for me. I'll just set that to the side. I am not that good at this, so even pieces, thy name is not Michael. I'm also a firm believer that those who get hurt in the kitchen don't respect the tools that they're using. So, respect the knife that's in your hand. Make sure you try to take care of it. Don't look at this one. It's chipped. I need to get it sharpened. So if I cut myself, you know why. Also, don't be a hero with some of this stuff. If it's at the very end, it doesn't matter. Just throw the end piece away or keep it as a larger piece of carrot. Once it's in the red sauce and it simmers for a while, it'll soften up no matter what size. As long as it's not like the whole carrot, so. And now we cut probably one of the more tasty parts of this meal, the garlic. Now, I like dicing it up. You can also do it, if you want to save yourself maybe a little bit of effort on the cutting part, just use a grater. Or maybe not even just a grater, but, something that can, shred this up by sliding the garlic cloves up and down on it. Alright everybody, so we're done prepping the ingredients. You'll see here we've got our meats, the ground beef, the Italian sausage, the bacon. We've got our sliced veggies, and we've got our canned veggies. So, get a nice little view here, and it's all ready to go. Alright everybody. Alright, now we've got all of our ingredients assembled and prepped. we're going to begin browning the meat. I'm starting with the bacon. And after this, I'm going to move to the ground beef and ground sausage. And basically, once you're done browning and cooking the meat, I like to pull it aside and set it into a pan or a different bowl, and I will saute the vegetables next with the fat of all the meat. And then I'll toss in the red sauce, all the fun, delicious tomato parts, and then add the meat back into it, and then just let it start simmering until about dinner time. Now, somebody might be wondering, well, you've got the ground beef, you've got the ground Italian sausage, why do you need the bacon? Well, to be honest with you, for a good ragu, I don't think you necessarily do. But I like using bacon just because, one, all this beautiful, delicious fat that gets rendered out is very flavorful. One, because I made the bacon, and I made sure it's flavorful. And two, that flavor goes straight into the veggies, goes straight into the sauce when you saute everything together. Plus, all that beautiful flan, that brown stuff at the bottom of the pan. Once you add in the tomato sauce and you get some of that wetness in there, and you can scrape that off the bottom, it really elevates the red sauce to a whole new level. So, here's our bacon, and stick around for the rest of it. Alright, so I've decided to do this a little bit out of order, and I've got the bacon set aside. Now I'm going to take our fresh diced veggies, and I'm going to toss it into the pan there. And we're going to basically just start stirring it up a little bit, let it saute in the bacon grease, and let it reduce in size a little bit. So now, just getting the veggies mixed in there, kind of breaking up some of the smaller onion, or some of the bigger onion pieces, and yeah, letting it saute in that delicious bacon grease. Now, you can add salt to the vegetables if you want at this point. The salt will help pull out some of the moisture and kind of, concentrate the flavor of the vegetables a little bit more. But I personally like to just use some of the bacon grease and just let it saute on its own time. So now I've got the sauce bacon all cooked up and the veggies are sauteing in it. I just want to take a second to kind of explain a little bit about, why I call it sauce bacon. And this recipe really just is the basic point of it. I like to use it as a base for my red sauce. But it's not just a great ingredient for your recipes. This is also a really good ingredient that you can use to feed as a snack for both yourself and your kids. Just add some fresh fruit and you can just munch on this and just watch something on TV and enjoy the afternoon. Heck, my toddler and I love to sit on the recliner and watch whatever's on Disney Plus that doesn't bore me to death. But you do what you do for your kids, right? So that's the bacon. Now let's get back to the veggies. Alright, so we've got our veggies sauteed up. Got a nice bit of flan there at the bottom. We're going to pull our veggies aside and add in our other meats with the ground beef and the ground Italian sausage. Alright, starting with our Italian ground sausage. Now this is just mild. If you want something spicy, I don't recommend necessarily getting the pre-spiced meat. I would just add the spices to your sauce, like, if you want to add peppers or like red pepper, green pepper kind of thing to it. You can even do like red chili flakes or some kind of chili powder for the sauce itself. So just a good ground sausage, ground Italian sausage will do the trick. And so now we're going to let this brown up, and we're going to do the ground beef next. Now when you're cooking the meat, you do want to try and brown it as best you can. You get that Maillard reaction going on the meat, and that's just fancy talk for delicious flavor on the meat. There's basically something that happens to the meat when, high heat's applied to it, and I'm sure I'm probably getting this wrong. Again, not a professional chef, but, This is our ground Italian sausage halfway through. Alright, so we have sauteed all of our vegetables but one. We have browned our meat. I've added a little bit of olive oil And now what we're going to do is we're going to take those chopped up garlic pieces. We're going to add them right on in. Now, you don't want to necessarily burn these. You just want to cook them long enough, about 30 seconds. And you're going to kind of get that garlic fragrance in the air, which smells delicious. I love it. In about 30 seconds, just kind of getting that garlic aroma in the air. Alright, and the next thing, I'm going to kind of set it to the side a little bit. I'm going to add our tomato paste, because you want to brown that up a little bit. Now, you don't have to do the whole can. I find it kind of overpowers the rest of the dish if you do the whole can of tomato sauce. So, now I've just got the garlic in here, and I'm just kind of mixing it up a bit, getting it around the plate, or getting it around the pan here. Just kind of cleaning it up a little bit. Alright, the next I like to add in the diced tomatoes. These don't necessarily need to cook very long, but you'll use some of the water from the diced tomatoes to help kind of bring up some of that flan at the bottom of the pan. By the way, that brown stuff at the bottom of the pan is delicious. Make sure you keep it in your meals. Don't just be like, oh no, I burned something, I have to switch to another pan. No, a little bit of moisture, a little bit of scraping, a little bit of elbow grease, gets it right up, adds it in there. So now, we've got the tomato paste, we've got the diced tomatoes and the garlic in there. Now, we're going to add the rest of our tomato sauce. I like to grab a little Rubbermaid scraper. Get all that delicious sauce in there. Now, just going to mix this up a little bit. Then we're going to add pretty much everything else. The ground beef, the ground Italian sausage, the veggies, and oh yes, the delicious bacon. Now, with this pan, we're kind of at maximum capacity, but that's okay. Just kind of keeping it all in there, mix it all together. I could probably even get away with putting another can of tomato sauce in here if I wanted to. In fact, I might just do that. Alright, so we've added our other can of red sauce, and it's gotten a little more of the consistency that I'm looking for. It's still very thick, and it's kind of exactly the way that I want it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and let it simmer on low heat. We're going to go ahead and put that lid over the top of it. Alright, we've pretty much finished with our red sauce. The only thing that I'm going to do now is let it simmer for a little while, and then at the end I'm going to add some extra little spices, some salt and pepper, just kind of get it to the flavor that I want. Some people like it a little saltier, some people don't like so much salt in it. I think the bacon really helps kind of balance that out a little bit, just because you get a little more of that salt flavor as well as the bacon flavor built into it without adding too much salt. My wife is very sensitive to salt in her food, so I have to be a little more aware of that. And it's actually, I think, helped make me a better cook over time. The only thing that I have left after the red sauce now is to boil the pasta. Take a little bit of that pasta water, put it into the red sauce, mix it up a little bit while it's still on low heat, and serve. And I'll show you the rest of that here in a little bit. All right, so the red sauce has been simmering for a little bit, and I've given it a taste test, and I like it, but I added a little bit of salt. And I'm going to say something else. Don't let anybody get upset at you for not adding like fresh thyme, parsley, or any of the other like Italian seasonings. You can use this stuff. If it enhances your meal and you like it, go ahead. I think some of the other fresher herbs and whatnot will maybe enhance a little bit more, but I mean, I'm just a dad cooking for his family, so unless I'm specifically trying to make like all of it from scratch, like stewing the tomatoes all day kind of thing, I'm just going to go with the standard Italian seasoning mix. So that's that. Now we're on to the next part. I do want to say that for those of you who are familiar with it, Babish is cookware. Love this stuff. Got it for Christmas, I think, last year, and I have used the crap out of it. And I love this stuff. So Babish, if you're watching, good on you, man. Keep up the good work. Now, I think the extra little bonus that I'm going to put in here that I think everyone should probably pay attention to is the cheese. Now, this is not part of the recipe. This is not part of the ragu. But for the meal at the end, when you're about to sit down and eat, this is perfect. Right here, what I've got is I've got some wet mozzarella. This is thinly sliced. It comes pre-thin sliced if you buy from the grocery store. I highly recommend it. The other one is Parmesan. Now, I always use fresh hand-grated Parmesan, and I highly recommend you do too. Something about that fresh Parmesan that just is delicious. Now that I've just got done talking to you about the cheese a little bit, I do want to talk to you one more tool, the grater. Now this is like a 4-sided grater, really nice, I like it. Having that handheld at the top really does make a difference. Respect the grater. I said it before with the knife, respect the knife, respect your tools. I have cut my hands on the grater trying to get that last little bit of the cheese or, you know, whatever have you with vegetables or something like that. Don't do it. It's never worth it. You're like, I can get that last bit of cheese or I can get, you know, this last piece of the and just stop. Throw away the end piece or stop altogether. Don't shred your hands up. Before I get the pasta water boiling, I do want to add that there's some things that you should know. One, when you're doing your pasta water, salt it. I think one of the phrases that I've heard most commonly used and I've come to kind of adopt is you want the water as salty as the ocean. And it just, the salt water really helps with the pasta. Now, there are a couple of things about, you know, pasta sticking together and people being like, why does my pasta always stick together? Well, a couple of reasons. One, you just got to keep, you know, kind of moving it around. You got to use your spoon, your ladle, or whatever it is, and just keep moving the pasta around. You got to, and I'll show you what my technique is, and just kind of separating the pasta and kind of keep it moving. Now, it's not something you stir all the time. You don't have to spend your entire 10 minutes or whatever just stirring pasta. But that's how you're going to help prevent it from sticking. Some people put oil in their water. Some people have other fun techniques. I don't. I literally just salt the water and add the pasta. Now, while we're on the topic of pasta, just standard stuff from the grocery store. Maybe not grocery store brand. I guess I didn't go too expensive. I didn't import it from Italy, but it's not a bad pasta. And on a side note, for those of you that love fresh made pasta, I'm right there with you. Oh God, I love a good homemade fresh pasta. Nothing beats it. But that is a labor of love. And if anybody makes you fresh homemade pasta for a meal, you give them a hug, you tell them you love them. I don't care who it is, your best friend, your buddy that you're having a beer with, you spend all afternoon making pasta, you tell them you love them because that is a labor of love. Now, for $1.50, you can get pasta dried at the store, ready to go. I use it every time. Now, if my wife is feeling particularly spoiling for me, she will use it in her lasagna or occasionally for fettuccine alfredo. I've got a wonderful wife who cooks delicious pasta. But for now, we're just going to be using box pasta. So remember, salt the water and kind of keep moving it around, separating it while it's cooking. And I'll show you how here in a second. All right, so I've just kind of separated some salt, put it into a nice little presentable dish, and I'm just going to add it directly into the water itself. Now, I am not left-handed, so this is not going to look all that coordinated. But now I've got the pot getting heated up, and I'm just kind of pre-salting it. There's no real issue with you doing it beforehand or after, after it's come to a roiling boil. But I just like to do it before. So dealer's choice, I suppose. Another pro tip, while you've got your ragu that's just kind of simmering and you've had the lid over the top of it, pull that bad boy off and just kind of stir it up. You want to make sure that, obviously you're not reducing too much of the water content, because while you are braising the meat and the vegetables and it is softening up and all those flavors are mixing deliciously, you are also pulling a little bit of water out. The lid helps keep some of the moisture in, but that's part of the heating process. So that's also another reason why, towards the end of it, we're going to add some of the pasta water, just a little bit, directly into the red sauce. Help with some of that moisture, as well as the starch from the pasta will help with the sauce and how it sticks to the noodles. So now I'm only in my mid-30s, so some of you are going to get this and most of you probably aren't. But when I was younger, my mother used to watch Golden Girls, and I would sit in the living room with her and watch it. And if you haven't watched it, it's hilarious. It's a piece out of time, but absolutely love it still. And I remember one of the older, I think it was the mother of the group, one of her friends basically gave her an Italian curse and was like, "May your red sauce never stick to your pasta." And she was like, she was mortified. It just made me laugh. So I thought you'd enjoy that. We got the kids home, so there's going to be plenty of noise, but you just want to mix up the pasta. You see how you're kind of like lifting it up and shaking it a little bit, separate out all the noodles. That really helps.
Hey you! Hey you! Hey! Hi! Hi there! Nana. Good, Nana. Dominic, come on, we're waiting on you.
So this is our finished product. We've got Nan and Ash in the background there. And we've got some delicious ragu pasta. So, from all of us at the Nash family household, just want to say thanks for watching. And
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.